In today's video, I am making this coastal oceanscape piece, and I'm going to show you step by step how to create this beautiful piece along with these amazing waves on it. So let's jump right in. So the first thing I've done is made my substrate, and I usually like to make these myself. This piece is going to be a commission piece, and the client wants me to have a drop edge on this, which means that what I've done is taken some MDF and I've built a frame around the MDF, glued it and secured it with some brad nails, sanded it all down so that there's no seam, and I have essentially created a wooden canvas so that when we do the waves and when we pour the resin, it goes down the side and the edge of the piece. So anyway, so all that being said, done, if you want to see how I make my bases, go ahead and check out my video of my geode clock, and you will be able to see how I get my substrate ready. Anyway, so the first step in this project is to prep the substrate, and I'm going to do a couple of layers of gesso using my roller, and I'm going to sand lightly between the layers of gesso, and probably about 2 to 3 layers should be enough, and that is what I'm going to do first thing. Don't forget to get the gesso on your edges as well, because you want to make sure that you seal all of the wood and there ends up being no moisture seeping through the MDF once you put your resin on. So definitely want to make sure your entire substrate is coated with gesso. Okay, so my board is now prepped and I'm ready to move on to the next step. So now the next thing I want to do is create an underpainting. This is essentially the portion that I'm going to have sort of like a pebbly color. So what I like to do is use these Dulux paint testers to sort of create my underpainting. So now what I'm trying to do is create a contrast, a slight color difference from my wave, which is going to be a white color, and this portion of the painting is going to be left without any resin. So I don't want to keep it white, because when I do the wave on top, the white of the wave and the white of the substrate, it's just going to blend in and it's not going to highlight the edge of my wave. I hope I'm making sense. So what I want to do is give a slight grey tinge to the portion where there's not going to be any resin. So like I said, I like to use these Dulux paint testers. They're essentially just rollers with paint in them, and they're available at any DIY store, and essentially I like to use these just because they're so easy to use to create an underpainting. So like I said, this is like I think this color is called Grey Goose or Pebble or something like that, and essentially it's a light grey color, sort of like a driftwood color. And I'm gonna paint the bottom of my canvas, which is going to be the bit without the resin, in this color. Once again, make sure you do go on those edges and not forget about those. Okay, so that color is now down, and I'm going to move on to the next color, which is the top of the painting, which is essentially going to be the deeper part of my ocean, if that makes sense. So for that, I have gone for this navy blue type color, and once again I'm using these Dulux paint testers. These are incredibly handy. As you can see, I don't even need a brush. It already has a roller, so all I have to do is literally just put some pressure, get some paint on, and then I'll roll away. And they're also pretty inexpensive, and like I said, you can find these at any DIY store, or else I will link Amazon links for these in the description below. So I've just done an outline of my darker ocean, and I'm just going to go and fill in all of that area with this. When doing a larger piece, I just find it quite helpful to have an underpainting ready. That way it helps me to know where I'm actually putting down the colors of my resin when I'm doing the pour. So it helps me to already have a guideline of my colors, and then also I feel like it gives a nice depth to the piece. So when you do put down your resin, and you'll see I'm going to use tinted resin, I'm not going to be using opaque resin for this. So you'd be able to see sort of like hints of these colors, and I feel like that creates a lot of depth to the piece. Okay, and now for the middle portion, I'm using the lighter blue, and this is going to be sort of like my middle portion of the oceanscape. So I'm just going to fill in all of the area between the dark blue and the gray to do that. And then you can kind of slightly go in and blend the colors as well if you like, but I'm not too fussed about that because we are going to have resin coming on this anyway, so it's all going to blend out. Okay, so my underpainting is now ready and dry, and we are ready for some resin. So for this project, I am using my Jade Diction Officials epoxy resin. You can use the code Jessica to get 10% discount on all of their products, and I highly recommend these. I am affiliated with them and I absolutely love all of their products. So I have gone ahead and mixed up some resin. I'm not sure how much I'm going to need to begin with, but I have some, and if I need some more, I will go ahead and mix some more. So now for the colors, I am going to need two types of blues. I'm essentially going to have a lighter blue, but I am using tints because, like I said, I want to keep my water area semi-transparent, if you like. So this is going to be tinted, not completely opaque. So I'm going to have a lighter blue, and I'm going to have a darker blue, and we need a white. And I'm also going to save some clear to create my wave. For the white, I like to use my Just Resin titanium white, and I've seen a lot of people use alcohol inks and spray paints and many different things to create waves, and you know, you can use all of those methods. I'm just showing you how I do my waves, and I usually just use this titanium white and quite a lot of pigment for the amount of resin. I do like to sort of overload my white, and that's it. I do not add any alcohol or any silicone oil or anything for my waves. I just literally use this to get the wave effect, and that's just how I do it. So I'm just showing you my way of doing it, but there are many ways of creating waves with resin. Another thing I want to mention is make sure you are using your own discretion when working with the resin. Make sure you have your gloves and your respirator or mask on, or make sure you're working in a well ventilated area. Okay, so now to create my first wave. First thing I want to do is I'm going to put down some clear along the edge of where I want my wave to be, and I'm putting down sort of like a decent stream of clear. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. If I need, I can come and top up with some more, but I think I'll start with that. Next, I'm gonna put my blues down. So like I said, my darker blue is going to be at the top of the piece, and my lighter blue is going to be in the middle. And then I just like to use my hands to sort of spread out the resin and also make sure that it's flowing over the edge, because I want a nice smooth layer of resin on the edge of the painting. So I'm just going to make sure I use my hands and sort of pull that resin over and under the painting. And then I'm just covering the blue, all of it, once again, just nicely massaging the resin. This is just the base layer of the painting, so I'm not too concerned about the way this looks. I know you can still see a very stark difference between the dark blue and the light blue, but do not worry. This piece is going to have so many layers that it's all going to come together, and you will see how nicely it blends at the end of it. So I'm just making sure I have the piece of my water area completely covered in resin, including the sides. And now I'm ready to put down my white for my wave. So the white is literally going to go at the front of the clear resin that we put down. So just a nice thick layer of white along the edge. And now that that's down, we are going to get ready to create our wave. And I like to use my heat gun. Now, I like to use this sort of cake top nozzle, like a narrow nozzle, to create my waves, and I like to work it at an angle. That's just how I like to do it. You could use sort of the flat attachment, or you could use a blow dryer, and you know, all sorts of things. Once again, this is just the way I do my waves. And so I'm going to set my heat gun to almost fully high hot setting, and I'm going to set it to the highest level of air coming out of it as well. When we start to move this along the resin, we just want to make sure that we're keeping the heat gun constantly moving, because like I said, I have this on a high setting, and if I keep it on one place for too long, I'm going to end up burning my resin or scorching my resin, which is not what we want. So we have to keep it moving. So like I said, I like to sort of tilt my heat gun at an angle and push out the white to the blue section. And that is what you're seeing me do. I'm just doing a little bit at a time. Once again, I'm just conscious that I don't want to overheat my resin and burn it, so I am keeping it moving. And then once that portion has cooled off a little bit, I will come back again and hit the same area to take the wave further. I also like to tilt my board a little bit to the back. And once again, this is just to sort of help the wave and the resin flow to the back. It just assists the resin, you know, let gravity do its thing. So I'm just using my other hand and tilting the board just ever so slightly. And then once I have a wave down, I can then go ahead and push some more of that wave further up, and we're going to leave this to cure. This is our base wave, and like I said, there's going to be so many more layers on this piece, so this is just the beginning, and I'm going to leave this layer to cure, and we will be back for the next one. Okay, so we're ready for the next layer. Once again, I literally have my two colors, darker blue, lighter blue, some clear resin, and some white. And when I'm mixing my tints this time, I can actually put down some of the color on the previous layer just to judge how much lighter or darker I want my tints to be. And the same way, I'm going to start my wave, which is going to be, this one is going to be quite close to the wave that we already created, so that the previous one looks like an underwave of water. So I'm going to start by putting my clear down, and followed by my blues and my white. And I'm going to shut up now so that you can enjoy this video, because I'm doing literally the same thing as I did for my first layer. So sit back and enjoy. Loving how this is looking so far. Absolutely love it. But and this is where I usually would share the piece with my client to show them what the waves are looking like, and if we need to add any more layers or any more waves. Now my client did decide we want one more layer and one more wave, because my client would like some of that foamy white to be right at the top of the deeper part of the ocean. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to add another wave. Now it would also be a good time for me to remind you to make sure you like, comment and subscribe to this video. I hope you have loved seeing the journey of this piece come along. You know, we started with literally a piece of wood, and look at how beautiful and how gorgeous it is becoming. You know, coastal vibes all the way through with this piece. Absolutely love how it's turning out, and I'd love to know what you think in the comments, so make sure you leave me comments. I also go through all of my comments to answer any questions that you may have. So if you have any, leave them down below and I will get back to you. Once I've blown out the wave, I like to come back with my white and just sort of highlight the edge of the wave. So I like to use my little popsicle stick and just highlight the edge of the wave, fill in any imperfections that there might be, and don't worry, it's all gonna self-level. Resin is self-leveling, so even though it looks a little clumpy or thick right now, it's all gonna self-level itself. And this is what this piece finally looks like in its forever home. Absolutely loved creating this. We did end up adding some shells in that little corner there just to sort of accentuate this piece even further. But yeah, I was super happy creating this for my client, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.